The marketplace was loud and full of life, voices of traders and buyers mixing together in a sea of sound. Alien creatures shouted prices, offered fruits, fabrics, and weapons. Humans from the colony walked carefully among them, trying to find food and supplies. The air smelled of spices, smoke, and animals. But in the middle of this busy place, one girl walked slowly. Her steps were small, her head was bent. She was different from the others. The moment she appeared, people began to cover their noses. Some laughed, some moved away, some whispered words she had heard many times before. "There she is, the cursed one," a man hissed. "Her smell will make you sick." Another woman whispered to her child. "Stay away, stay away." Voices warned from every side. The girl's clothes were torn and covered with dirt. Her hair stuck together with sweat and dust. Her skin was covered in marks. She had been pushed, slapped, thrown out from places again and again. Her eyes looked down because she was too afraid to meet anyone's gaze. She knew what would come if she tried. Only more cruel words, only more rejection. Her stomach growled painfully. It had been 2 days since she last ate. She walked toward a fruit stand. Her hand reached out slowly. She thought maybe, just maybe, she could grab a rotten apple from the side. But before her fingers touched it, the trader shouted, "Don't touch that, filthy girl." His voice was like a whip. The crowd turned to look. The girl froze, trembling. Her heart pounded. She pulled her hand back. The man grabbed a stick and waved it at her. "Go away. You are not welcome here." The people laughed. The sound cut into her heart like a knife. She stumbled back. She wanted to cry, but she forced the tears down. If she cried, they would laugh harder. She turned and ran into a narrow alley. The noise of the market became distant. She sat down against a cold stone wall. She hugged her knees, her body shook. She wanted to disappear, to vanish into the shadows. "Why was I born like this?" she whispered. Her own smell filled her nose. She had tried to wash before, but no water ever stayed on her skin. No cloth could clean it. The smell returned, always, like a curse. No one wanted her. Her family had abandoned her when she was young. Strangers treated her like trash. She was not a person to them, only a problem. But today, something was different. A shadow fell over her in the alley. She froze, waiting for another insult, waiting for another stone. Slowly she raised her head. A human stood there, a man tall and strong. His clothes were worn but neat. He looked like a soldier. His face was calm, not angry, not disgusted. He held a small pack in his hand, and his eyes studied her carefully. The girl shrank back. Don't come near," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "You will regret it, I smell. I am cursed." The man did not move away. Instead, he slowly knelt down so his eyes were level with hers. He placed the pack on the ground between them. Then, he opened it and pulled out a small piece of bread. The smell of fresh bread reached her nose. Her stomach cried louder. She looked at him with wide eyes. Why are you doing this?" The man's voice was steady. "Because you are hungry," he said. He pushed the bread a little closer. "Take it." The girl's hand trembled. She wanted to grab it, to eat it. But fear stopped her. She looked at his face again. There was no hatred, no disgust, only calm patience. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and took the bread. She held it close. Her lips shook. No one has ever given me food before," she whispered. The man tilted his head slightly as if surprised. "Ever?" She shook her head, a tear finally falling down her cheek. She bit into the bread. The taste filled her mouth, warm and soft. She ate quickly, afraid it might be taken away. The man waited, silent, watching her. His eyes were not cruel. They were heavy, as if he was thinking of something deep. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with the back of her dirty hand. She whispered again, "I told you. I am cursed. If you touch me, if you stay near me, people will hate you too." The man leaned forward a little. His voice was low but firm. "I do not care what they think," he said. "I see someone who is suffering. That is enough. Lila." Girl blinked. Her chest felt tight. Was this real? Was this a trick? No one had ever said such words to her. But before she could answer, Voices echoed from the marketplace. People had noticed the human soldier kneeling beside the cursed girl. They were whispering, pointing, moving closer. "Look, the human is talking to her," one voice said. "He doesn't know what she is," another replied. "He will regret this." A third voice hissed. The girl gasped. Her hands shook. "Go," she begged. "Leave me, please, before they hurt you too." But the man did not move. His shadow covered her small figure. His eyes stayed on her, calm and unafraid. And in that moment, the girl realized something shocking. For the first time in her life, someone had not turned away. The crowd gathered slowly. Their whispers grew louder. Their eyes were sharp like knives. Some pointed, some laughed, some shook their heads in disbelief. "How can he sit with her?" A traitor muttered. "He must be mad." Another replied, "Look at him, a human soldier wasting time on filth," said a third. The girl bent her head lower. Her body shook. She held the bread tightly, afraid it might be snatched away. Her ears filled with cruel voices. Each word stabbed her like a blade. She wanted to disappear into the stones. She wanted the earth to open and swallow her. But the man did not move. His calm gaze moved from the girl to the crowd. His eyes were steady, cold, unafraid. "Go back to your stalls," he said in a strong voice. His words were not loud but carried power. "This child has done nothing to you," the crowd murmured in surprise. Some stepped back, some still glared, but they did not dare to step closer. The girl looked at him in shock. Her lips trembled. Why are you defending me?" she whispered. "You don't even know me." The man turned his gaze back to her, his voice softened. "I don't need to know your past," he said. "I see your present, hungry, afraid, alone. That is enough. For me." Her eyes filled with tears she had held back for years. No one had ever spoken to her this way. She wanted to believe him, but fear pressed heavy on her chest. "You will regret this," she whispered. "If you touch me, you will smell. Like me, they will hate you too." The man slowly reached into his pack. He pulled out a small water skin. The leather looked old but strong. He opened it, poured water onto his palm, and held his hand out to her. The girl froze. Her heart beat fast. No one had ever offered her water before. People threw stones at her, spit at her, but water, clean water, she had never been given even a drop. Her throat felt dry. She licked her lips, her hands shook. She wanted it, but fear held her still. The man did not push. He waited, his hand steady, water dripping slowly onto the dust. "Drink," he said, quietly. "Please." Slowly, with trembling fingers, she leaned forward. She cupped her dirty hands under his. Water spilled onto her palms. She lifted it to her mouth. It was cold, pure, sweeter than anything she had ever tasted. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she drank. Her voice cracked. "Why? Why are you doing this for me?" The man's expression did not change, but his eyes grew softer. "Because kindness is free," he answered. "And you look like no one has given you any." The words broke something inside her. A wall she had built for years began to fall. She pressed her forehead to her knees, crying silently. The man let her cry. He did not move closer. He simply waited, watching, guarding. His presence was steady like a wall against the world. When her sobs slowed, he spoke again. "What is your name?" She lifted her head slowly, her eyes red. "Name?" she whispered. "No one calls me by name anymore." "Then tell me," he said gently, "so I can call you properly." Her lips moved. She hesitated, afraid to speak it, but finally she whispered, "Lyra." The man nodded once. "Lyra," he repeated. His voice gave her name weight, meaning as if it belonged again. Something stirred in her chest. Warmth she had never felt before. She hugged her knees tighter, afraid this feeling might vanish. The man stood slowly. He looked toward the street. The crowd had thinned. Some still whispered, but most had returned to their lives. He turned back to Lyra. "You should not stay here," he said. Come with me. Lyra's eyes widened. Fear returned. No, she whispered quickly. You don't understand. People will hate you if you walk with me. They will spit at you, throw stones. The man's jaw tightened. His voice was calm but firm. Let them try, he said. I am not afraid of cowards. Lyra's heart pounded. She had dreamed of someone saying those words, but dreams always shattered. She was afraid this one would too. She shook her head. I can't. I will only bring you trouble. The man crouched again, so his eyes met hers. His gaze was steady. Trouble is worth it if it saves a life, he said. You deserve more than this alley. Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted left and right. Why do you care? She whispered. I am nothing to you. He paused for a moment, then answered quietly. Because once, I was nothing to someone too. The words sank into her heart like fire. She could not breathe for a moment. She saw pain in his eyes. Deep and hidden, she realized he understood loneliness in a way others never had. She opened her mouth to speak, but footsteps echoed at the mouth of the alley. More people were coming, their voices sharp, filled with cruelty. There she is again, one man sneered. Throw her out of the city, another shouted. She doesn't belong among us, said a woman. Lyra gasped, fear rushing back. She clutched the bread close to her chest. Her whole body shook. The man stood tall, his shadow covering her again. His hand moved to the weapon at his belt. His voice cut through the shouts. Enough. The alley fell silent. His presence was heavy, commanding. The people hesitated, eyes wide. They were used to mocking a weak girl not facing a soldier's cold gaze. You will not touch her, he said, his voice steady. Final. The crowd muttered, stepped back slowly. No one dared challenge him. One by one they disappeared back into the marketplace. Lyra's eyes filled. With tears again, she whispered, Why did you do that? The man looked down at her, his voice softer now. Because no one should face the world alone. She stared at him, her chest rising and falling quickly. She wanted to believe. She wanted to trust. For the first time in her life, she felt the faintest light of hope. And as he reached out his hand, not with force but with patience, Lyra hesitated. Then slowly, she placed her trembling fingers into his. The path out of the marketplace was narrow and uneven. Dust rose with every step. Lyra walked behind the human soldier, her head still low. Her fingers clutched the last piece of bread he had given. She half expected him to stop at any moment, to turn around and tell her he had made a mistake, but he did not stop. His steps were steady, his shoulders broad, his presence strong like a shield against the world. People still stared when they passed. Some whispered, some laughed, but none dared to stand in his way. Lyra's heart raced. She felt the heat of eyes on her, back, but she also felt something new. For the first time in her life, she was walking beside someone who did not push her away. Finally, the road opened, and the noise of the market faded. Ahead lay a stream, its water clear, flowing gently between smooth stones. Trees bent over it, their leaves whispering with the wind. Birds sang in the branches. The man stopped at the edge. He looked back at Lyra, his eyes calm but firm. Sit, he said softly. Lyra froze. She hugged herself. Fear rushed. Back, why here? She asked. Her voice trembled. He placed his pack on the ground, pulled out a small bar of soap wrapped in cloth. Because you deserve to be clean, he said. His tone carried no judgment, only certainty. Her heart skipped a beat. Clean. The word was strange to her. She could not remember the last time her body had felt fresh. She shook her head quickly. No, it won't work, she whispered. I told you, it never works. The smell always comes back. The man crouched near the water. His reflection wavered in the ripples. He dipped his hand in, lifted the cool liquid, and let it fall. Then let us try again, he said. Maybe this time will be different. Lyra stepped back. You don't understand, she cried softly. I am cursed. The water runs away from me. No matter how much I wash, the stink always returns. The man studied her carefully, his voice low but steady. Then it is not the water's fault, he said. It is the world's cruelty that told you this lie. His words struck her chest like a spark. She had believed the curse for so long, believed she was doomed forever. Could it be a lie? Could it be something else? But fear still wrapped around her. She shook her head again. If you touch me, you will regret it. He leaned closer, his face calm, his voice soft as the stream. Lyra, I do not regret helping you eat, he said. I will not regret helping you live. Her breath caught. The way he spoke her name made her feel human again. For a long moment she stood frozen. Then slowly, with small steps, she came closer to the water. The soldier dipped the soap into the stream, rubbed it between his palms until foam rose. The fresh scent spread in the air, clean and sharp. Lyra inhaled and felt her chest ache. She had never known such a smell could belong to her. He reached for her hand, his fingers steady, not afraid. She flinched, pulling back quickly, her eyes wide with panic. Trust me, he said. His eyes never left hers, steady like stone. Her lips trembled. She hesitated. The world had always told her no one could be trusted, but this man had given her bread, had given her water, had stood against a crowd for her. Slowly, trembling, she placed her hand in his. The soap slid across her skin. Dirt dissolved into the water, streaks of brown drifting away. The soldier's movements were careful, gentle. Each stroke was slow, deliberate, as if she was fragile glass. Lyra watched in silence, her eyes wide. The water that had always felt like an enemy now felt like a friend. The soap bubbled softly, carrying away years of filth. Her reflection in the water shifted. For the first time, she saw glimpses of pale, glowing skin beneath the grime. Patterns faintly shimmered along her arms, alien markings that pulsed like soft light. She gasped, pulled her hand away. Stop, she cried. Her chest heaved. You will see. You will hate me too. The soldier's brows tightened, but his voice remained calm. I see already, he said, and I do not hate you. Her eyes filled with tears. She had been ready for rejection, again ready for disgust, but his face stayed steady, not a flicker of fear. He took her hand again gently, and this time she did not pull back. The stream carried away the last of the dirt. Her skin shone faintly, her smell lessened with every rinse, replaced by the scent of soap and water. Lyra stared at her reflection. It was strange. She did not look cursed anymore. She did not look filthy. She looked like someone she could almost recognize, almost believe was worthy of life. Her lips trembled. She whispered, Who is this girl? The man's voice was firm. This is Lyra, he said. The one they lied about. The one they tried to bury under shame. But shame washes away. Her chest shook with sobs she could no longer hold. Tears spilled freely into the stream, mixing with the water. The soldier set the soap aside. He rinsed her arms carefully. Then he sat back, giving her space, his eyes steady but not pressing. Do you feel it? He asked quietly. Lyra nodded slowly. Her voice cracked. I feel lighter. The wind moved through the trees. The birds sang again. The stream carried away her past in its endless flow. For the first time, Lyra felt hope stirring inside her, chest fragile but alive. And though fear whispered in her mind, one truth echoed louder. Someone had touched her without disgust. Someone had washed her without shame. For the first time, she was not alone. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. The stream glimmered like liquid fire as it carried away dirt and shadows of the past. Lyra sat on the rocks near the water, her wet hands resting on her knees. For the first time, her skin did not feel heavy with filth. The human soldier sat nearby, silent but watchful. His presence was calm, steady. He had not mocked her. He had not turned away. Instead, he had washed her hands with care. The soap still lay on the stone, its scent drifting in the air. Lyra leaned forward, staring at her reflection in the stream. What she saw made her heart pound. The girl looking back at her was not the cursed outcast she had always believed herself to be. Her face, though thin and tired, glowed faintly beneath the fading light. Strange, beautiful markings spread across her skin, pale lines that shimmered like stars beneath water. Her alien heritage revealed itself in delicate patterns on her cheeks and forehead. She gasped and covered her face quickly with both hands. "No," she whispered. "No, you can't see this." Her voice cracked with panic. She turned away from the soldier, shoulders shaking. The soldier tilted his head. His voice was calm. "Why do you hide?" Her breath came in fast bursts. "Because," she said, "everyone hates me when they see. They say I am cursed. They say I am wrong. They say the smell comes from my blood, from my skin." Her words broke as tears slid down her cheeks. "Now, you know the truth, now you will hate me too." For a long moment the soldier said nothing. The stream whispered. The birds sang faintly in the trees. The silence pressed heavy on Lyra's chest. She waited for rejection, waited for disgust. But when he finally spoke, his voice was steady. "I do not see a curse," he said slowly. "I see someone who has carried too much pain alone." She lowered her hands slightly, her eyes wide, wet with tears. "You don't mean that," she whispered. He leaned closer, his gaze steady. "Lyra, look at me." Her hands shook. She slowly lowered them. The soldier did not flinch, did not frown. His eyes held no disgust, only quiet strength. "You are not what they said," he continued. "Your face is not filth. It is light. You are not a curse. You are proof that cruelty can blind even the strongest eyes." Her chest tightened. She had never heard words like this. Not once in her life. For years she had believed the lies, believed she was unworthy, and yet this man spoke to her as if she mattered. Her lips trembled. Then why do they all hate me?" His jaw tightened. "Because they fear what they do not understand," he said. "Because it is easier to mock than to care. Because cruelty is cheaper than kindness." Lyra hugged herself tightly. His words cut deep, but they also felt like truth. She thought of her clan, her family who had abandoned her. She thought of every mocking voice, every cruel hand that had shoved her aside. Tears ran freely down her cheeks. "Then what am I?" she asked, her voice breaking. "If I'm not cursed, if I am not filth, then what am I?" The soldier's eyes softened, his voice lowered. "You are Lyra," he said. "That is enough." The simple words struck harder than any long speech. Her name, spoken without shame, felt like fire and water together, burning and healing. Her shoulders shook as she cried. The stream carried her sobs away. The soldier did not touch her this time. He simply sat close, silent, steady, letting her tears fall without fear. When her sobs slowed, he finally spoke again. "You have hidden yourself for too long," he said, "but hiding will not change the truth of who you are." She turned her tear-stained face toward him. "And who am I?" she whispered, desperate for an answer. He looked at her glowing patterns, at the strength beneath her fragile frame. "You are someone worth saving," he said firmly. Her lips parted in shock. The words wrapped around her heart like a shield. No one had ever said she was worth anything. To them she had been trash. To him she was worth saving. Her chest filled with warmth she did not understand. Her voice shook. "Why? Why would you save me?" The soldier's eyes darkened for a moment as if old memories rose within him. "Because once," he said quietly, "no one saved me." The words sent a shiver through her. She wanted to ask, but his silence told her not to push still. His pain felt real, and for the first time she realized maybe she was not the only one carrying scars. The air grew cooler as evening settled, the forest darkened, shadows stretching across the water. The soldier stood and offered his hand. You cannot stay here, he said. Come with me. There is shelter ahead. Lyra stared at his hand. Her heart raced. Fear battled hope inside her. Her whole life she had been abandoned, mocked, cursed. Could she really trust this man? Her voice cracked. And if I follow you, will you abandon me too? His eyes locked onto hers, steady, unshaken. No, he said. I will not abandon you. Her hand trembled, but slowly she reached out and placed her fingers in his. His grip was firm but gentle, pulling her up from the stone as they walked. Away from the stream the forest grew darker, but inside her a small light had been born, fragile but real. For the first time Lyra felt her face was not a curse but a truth. And though danger still waited in the shadows, she walked with someone who had seen her true self and had not turned away. And that changed everything. The sky was turning deep purple as the sun sank behind the hills. The last golden rays stretched across the stream, making the water shine like silver glass. Lyra sat by the edge, her wet hair clinging to her shoulders. The soap's faint scent drifted on the air, clean and sharp, unlike anything she had ever carried before. Her heart beat fast as she leaned forward. Her eyes caught her reflection in the water. For a long moment she could not breathe. The face staring back was not the same shadow she had always known. Her skin no longer looked dull and broken. The dirt and filth had washed away. Beneath it, pale skin glowed softly in the twilight. Strange patterns curled across her cheeks and neck, lines that shimmered like moonlight trapped under her skin. She gasped and covered her face quickly with both hands. Fear and shame rose together. No, don't look, she whispered. Her voice cracked. Please don't see me like this. The soldier sitting nearby on the rocks tilted his head. His voice was calm. Why do you hide your face? Her shoulders shook. Her words tumbled out in pain. Because they all hate me when they see. They said my blood is dirty. They said the smell comes from what I am. They said I carry death. Her tears spilled through her fingers. Now you see what they see. Now you will leave me too. The silence grew heavy. The stream bubbled softly. A bird cried in the distance. Lyra waited for the word she had heard 1,000 times before. Filth, cursed, worthless. But the soldier's voice was steady when it came. I do not see death, he said slowly. I see someone who has carried too much sorrow alone. Her hands lowered a little. Her wet eyes glimmered with disbelief. You don't mean that, she whispered. I mean every word, he answered. His eyes were locked on hers, clear, unshaken. The world called you cursed, but I see someone who survived what others could not. Her breath caught. His words pierced through the chains that had bound her heart for years. Her voice trembled. Then why did they all throw me away? The soldier's gaze turned hard. His voice grew firm. Because people fear what they do not understand, he said. Because they would rather mock than face their own weakness. Lyra hugged herself. His words felt true, but they also cut deep. She thought of her family who had abandoned her, of her clan that spat at her name. The pain returned sharp and heavy. Her lips trembled. If I am not filth, if I am not cursed, then what am I? The soldier's face softened. His tone lowered. You are Lyra, he said. And that is enough. The sound of her name in his voice felt like fire. For so long her name had been used only in anger, only in disgust. But from his lips it felt like a gift. Her body shook with quiet sobs. Tears fell freely. She buried her face in her hands, not out of shame, but because she did not know how to hold the strange warmth rising inside her. The soldier did not move to touch her. He only stayed near, his silence heavy but gentle, letting her cry without fear. When her sobs slowed, he spoke again. You have hidden your face from the world too long, he said. But hiding will not change the truth. Her eyes lifted slowly, red and swollen. And what truth is that? She asked in a broken voice. He studied her glowing patterns, the faint shine that made her look like a creature carved from starlight. "That you are worth saving," he said, firm as stone. Her lips parted in shock. The words crashed into her. Like a wave, she had been told she was nothing, trash, cursed. Now this man was telling her she was worth saving. Her heart ached so deeply she could not speak. All she managed was a whisper. "Why would you save me?" For a moment, shadows passed across his face. His eyes grew distant. "Because once no one saved me," he said quietly. The weight in his voice made her shiver. She wanted to ask what he meant, but something told her not to. His pain was hidden, but real. The sky darkened as stars appeared one by one above. The soldier stood and extended his hand, his voice steady. "You cannot stay by this stream. It will grow cold soon. Come with me." Lyra stared at his hand. Fear battled hope inside. Her chest, her voice cracked. "And if I follow you, will you abandon me too?" He held her gaze, his eyes steady, unflinching. "No," he said. "I will not abandon you." Her hands shook, but slowly she reached out. Her fingers brushed his. His grip was warm and strong as he pulled her gently to her feet. Together they left the stream behind. The forest shadows grew thick, but beside him the darkness felt less heavy. For the first time in her life, Lyra walked with her face uncovered, and though fear whispered in her mind, hope whispered louder, because someone had seen her true self and had not turned away, and that changed everything. The forest was quiet as they walked. Only the crunch of dry leaves under their feet broke the silence. Lyra stayed close behind the soldier, her bare feet trembling on the cold ground. The air carried the smell of damp wood and night. For a moment she felt safe, but safety never lasted for her. Deep in her chest, fear whispered, reminding her that shadows always returned. And soon, the shadows came. Voices echoed between the trees, harsh, cruel, full of mockery. "There she is," one snarled. "The stinking girl." Another laughed. "She ran from us, but she cannot hide forever." Lyra froze. Her stomach twisted with dread. She knew those voices too well. They belonged to her clan, to the men who had hunted her since she was thrown away. The soldier stopped walking, his hand lowered to the weapon at his belt. His eyes searched the trees, calm but sharp. He had been in battles before, and he knew when danger was near. Shapes moved between the trunks. 4 figures stepped out into the fading light. They were tall, armored with rough leather. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Lyra's knees gave out. She dropped to the ground, her hands shaking. "Please," she whispered. "Don't hurt me. I will leave. I will go far away. Just don't." The leader of the group sneered, his voice thick with hatred. "Leave." "No, Lyra, you cannot leave. You belong in the dirt where you were thrown." The others laughed cruelly. One kicked dirt toward her, another pointed with mock disgust. "Look at her. Even clean, she stinks. Worthless as ever." Lyra's tears spilled. She curled into herself. She expected the soldier to step back, to leave her, to realize she was not worth the trouble. But instead he stepped forward, placing himself between Lyra and the hunters. His hand rested firmly on his blade, his voice cut through the night like steel. "She is under my protection," he said. Calm but cold, the hunters blinked in surprise, then burst into laughter. "A human?" one mocked. "Protecting her?" Another jeered. "Do you know what she is?" "She is cursed, filthy, less than nothing." The soldier's jaw tightened. His voice remained steady. "I know enough. She is not yours to harm." The leader's grin turned sharp. "And what will you do, human soldier?" "There are 4 of us and only 1 of you." Lyra's heart pounded. She pulled at the soldier's arm desperately, whispering through tears. "Please don't fight. They will kill you. Please, leave me." But the soldier did not move. His stance was firm. His eyes never left the hunters. "If they want you," he said quietly, "they will have to step through me." The hunters' smiles faded. Their eyes narrowed. They were used to people. Turning away, they were used to fear. Never had anyone stood between them and their prey. The leader snarled, lifting his crude weapon. "Then so be it, human." The air grew tense. The forest held its breath. One of the hunters lunged forward, his blade aimed at the soldier's chest. The soldier moved with sharp speed, steel flashing as he blocked the strike. Sparks flew in the night. Lyra gasped. Her body shook. She wanted to scream, but no sound came. She watched as the soldier pushed back the attacker, his movements controlled, strong. Each strike was met with calm precision. Another hunter rushed in from the side, but the soldier spun, his boot striking the man hard in the chest. The attacker stumbled back, crashing into the dirt. The leader growled, his eyes burning with rage. "You dare fight us for her? For trash?" The soldier's blade glimmered in the twilight. His voice was steady. "She is not trash. She is more human than any of you." The hunters roared in anger and attacked together. The clash of steel filled the forest. The soldier fought with skill born of experience. Each movement was deliberate, powerful. He had fought wars. He had faced worse than these, but still, they were many. One blade cut his arm. Blood ran down. He gritted his teeth, but he did not fall. He held his ground. Lyra's tears blurred her vision. She wanted to crawl away, but her body would not move. Her heart screamed with fear and something else. Guilt. This man was bleeding. Because of her, because he refused to abandon her, she cried out, "Stop, please stop." But the hunters only laughed. Their weapons struck again. Then the soldier shouted. His voice thundered through the trees. "I will not let you touch her." His blade struck with renewed force. His eyes burned with fire. He pushed the hunters, back step by step until they hesitated, breathing hard. Their leader snarled but did not move forward again. The soldier's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His blood dripped into the dirt, but his stance never broke. His presence filled the forest like an unshakable wall. The leader spat into the ground, his voice dripping with venom. "This is not over, human. Protect her now. But we will return, and when we do, she will suffer, and so will you." With that, the hunters faded into the shadows, their laughter echoing like poison. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of the stream nearby. Lyra crawled toward the soldier, her hands shaking. You bled for me," she whispered, her voice full of shock and grief. "Why? Why would you do that?" He wiped the blood from his arm, his eyes still steady. "Because no one deserves to face monsters alone," he said. Her chest tightened. Tears streamed down her face. She whispered again, "But I am not worth it." His gaze softened for a moment. His words were firm. "You are worth it, Lyra, and you will learn that even if the whole world says otherwise." The night air grew colder, but inside her, something warm began to rise, fragile but real. For the first time in her life, someone had fought for her, not against her, and it changed everything. The forest was dark now. Only the moonlight spilled through the branches, silver and cold. The soldier's steps were heavy but steady. His arm bled, his clothes torn, but his back remained straight. Lyra walked beside him, her small hands clenched together. She kept looking at the wound on his arm. Her chest tightened with guilt. "You should have left me," she whispered. Her voice was soft, broken. "They hurt you because of me." He glanced at her, his face calm even in pain. "If I had left you," he said, "then they would have killed you." Lyra lowered her eyes, her tears shimmered in the moonlight. No one had ever spoken of her life as something worth saving. For her clan, she had been nothing. For strangers, she had been filth. But this man had fought for her as if she mattered. They reached a clearing at the edge of the forest. A small wooden cabin stood there, smoke curling faintly from its chimney. It looked old, but strong, built with care. Its windows glowed softly. With firelight from inside, Lyra stopped, staring with wide eyes, her lips trembled. This is your home?" The soldier nodded. "Yes," he said simply. He pushed open the door, the warm smell of firewood and bread drifting into the night. He looked back at her. "Come in." Her feet froze on the doorstep. Fear tangled with hope inside her chest. She shook her head, whispering, "No, I cannot. I will make it dirty. I will ruin it." The soldier's voice was steady. "It is only wood and stone," he said. "It can be cleaned. But you cannot stay outside in the cold." His words struck her heart, Slowly, trembling, she stepped across the doorway. The warmth of the cabin wrapped around her. It smelled of earth and fire, simple but safe. Her eyes moved everywhere. A table stood in the center, chairs beside it, a bed in the corner with a blanket folded neatly, a shelf lined with jars and bread. To Lyra it looked like a palace. Her hand touched the edge of the table. Her voice shook. This place, it is so warm." The soldier closed the door behind them. He lit another lantern, filling the room with golden light. He pulled out a chair. "Sit," he said. Lyra sat carefully, afraid the chair might break under her. She placed, her hands in her lap, trembling. Her eyes darted to the blanket in the corner. She whispered, "Is that where you sleep?" "Yes," the soldier answered. He pulled bread from the shelf and placed it before her. "And tonight you will sleep there." Her eyes widened. She shook her head quickly. "No, I can't. I can't take your bed. I can sleep on the floor. I always sleep on the ground." The soldier looked at her firmly. "No one should sleep on the ground when there is a bed," he said. His tone left no room for argument. Her lips trembled. She touched the bread with shaking hands. Tears filled her eyes again. Why are you doing this for me?" He sat across from her, his gaze steady. "Because everyone deserves a home," he said simply. Her tears spilled down her cheeks. She ate slowly, tasting bread and safety together for the first time in her life. Every bite felt unreal. Her body had never known such peace. When she finished, she sat in silence, watching the fire crackle. Her hands clutched the edge of the chair, afraid this moment would vanish. The soldier stood, pulled clean cloth from a chest, and wrapped his wounded arm with steady hands. Lyra watched with guilt burning in her chest. Finally, she whispered, "You bleed because of me." He glanced at her and shook his head. "I bleed because cruelty exists," he said, "and I would rather bleed than see you broken." Her chest ached. His words sank deep inside her. She wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Her heart was too full. Later, he placed the blanket on the bed and motioned for her. "Sleep," he said. "You are safe here." Lyra stood at the edge of the bed, her eyes wide. Her fingers touched the blanket softly. The fabric was rough but warm. She whispered, "This is mine." "For tonight," he said, "and for as long as you need." Her knees grew weak. She sank onto the bed slowly. Her chest shook as she pulled the blanket over herself. Her voice broke. "I never had a bed before." The soldier stood nearby, silent, watching. His eyes were calm but heavy, as if he understood too well what she meant. Lyra curled into the blanket. Tears slipped down her cheeks. But they were not only of pain. They were of wonder, of a strange new feeling. For the first time in her life, she belonged to a place. The fire crackled softly. The soldier sat in the chair watching the door, guarding her as she drifted into sleep. And as her eyes closed, one thought repeated in her mind like a prayer. She was safe. She was warm. She was not alone. She had found her first home. Morning light spilled through the small window of the cabin. The fire in the hearth had burned down to soft embers, and the air carried the faint scent of smoke and bread. Lyra stirred under the blanket. Her eyes blinked open slowly. Her body felt warm, safe, and heavy with rest. For a long moment she did not move. She listened to the silence, broken only by birdsong outside. It felt unreal. Her whole life had been filled with harsh voices, cruel laughter, and cold nights. But now she woke in a bed, wrapped in warmth. Her fingers gripped the blanket tightly. She whispered, "Is this a dream?" Across the room, the soldier sat in his chair, his eyes half closed but alert. He had stayed awake most of the night, guarding the door like a wall of stone. When she spoke, he looked at her, calm as ever. "It is not a dream," he said, his voice steady. "You are safe." Her throat tightened. Tears pricked her eyes. She sat up slowly, the blanket falling to her lap. "No one has ever said that to me before," she whispered. He stood and moved to the table, placing a small piece of bread and a cup of water for her. "Eat," he said. "Strength will return to you." She walked carefully to the table, her bare feet. Pressing against the wooden floor, she sat and took the bread, her eyes lifted to him nervously. "And after I eat, will you send me away?" The soldier's brows lowered slightly, his voice was calm but firm. "No, Lyra. You are not being sent anywhere. This is your home now, if you choose it." Her chest shook. She covered her mouth with her hand as tears fell. "Home," she whispered. "I have never had one." He sat across from her, folding his hands on the table. "Then this will be your first," he said. The words wrapped around her heart like a shield. She ate slowly, her tears mixing. With each bite, she could hardly believe what was happening. But outside, not everyone had forgotten. Neighbors from the colony had seen her enter his cabin. They gathered near the edge of the forest, whispering among themselves. "She's still alive," one muttered. "And the human lets her stay with him?" Another sneered. "They say he even fought hunters for her," a third hissed.